right. Welcome everyone to another edition of our 119 release team meeting. I am Taylor Dolezal, the release lead, and hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. Let's get started with enhancements. Nabrun, what's going on?
Hi everyone. I hope you all had an amazing weekend and hope your Monday is going well. So enhancements is green right now. We're tracking 33 enhancements, 8 in alpha, 15 in beta, and 10 graduate into stable. We have had the same exception request that we were reviewing last week. However, I looked up the PRs for updating the KEP itself and the implementation PR. Both did not see activity for a few days now, and we are reaching out to the owners and SIG leads for the same, for the approvals. So looking at the status, we will decide shortly about what to do. And looking at the inactivity, we are a bit apprehensive about what to do about the request. That's all on enhancement side. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Excellent. Thank you, Nabrun. I think I was a little bit quiet, so can you all hear me? For those on video, if you give me a thumbs up, is that at a good volume for you? Okay, fantastic. Thank you again, Nabrun.
Thanks, everyone.
We can follow up. I know we've got that thread about some of the issues that we're looking at, but yeah, if you need anything on that front, obviously, we can continue talking in there. Moving along to CI Signal with Dan.
Yeah, so we are red, but probably not for long. We have PRs open to fix both of the failing jobs on master blocking. So the first one there is for the IPv6 endpoint slices. That's been approved, but is currently being retested. And then the NVIDIA plugin PR has been merged, and that's running right now. So expect that to be green. Before we get into any of the other stuff, I know Jordan and Dems are on the call today, and we discussed this weekend some of the increased CI failures on pull requests, and I pointed out a couple of them here, and then also on the relevant jobs for release boards. I've also mentioned some of those as well. Wanted to see if you all had any updates you wanted to provide right now before I continue on.
I'm trying to remember which were the three that we.
Yeah. The main ones were the mirror pod with grace period on Node Kubelet master,
Yep.
and it's flaking about 5% of the time. And then there was a general comment that there's quite a few runs of jobs that either just have no build log or are timing out.
Yeah.
So that was a mention as well.
All right. Seth Jennings from Signode is investigating the Mirrorpod issue. It looks like he found some potential causes, and he thought we would have either an approach or agreement to roll back the change by end of day today. The third issue that was mentioned was something about excessive logging. That was a regression in K8s.io utils. That got reverted, and there's a PR with the rollback, which should relieve load across the board for our integration and CI jobs. That leaves the very few PRs emerging, like the pod timeouts or failures with no logs. We don't have a lot of information about that yet. Once we get the load issues helped, we'll probably start digging into that one and seeing if we can figure out what the cause is there. So that I would still say that is pretty concerning because it masks a lot of signal. Like we wouldn't know if we were getting widespread failures because we're getting widespread failures because of input reasons. There was one other thing that I found over the weekend, which was a scheduling throughput failure in one of the scalability jobs, so I'll put that in the notes.
Yeah,
I
it's
wanted to rate that.
under Cost Master
Okay.
Scalability 100 there.
Okay. I wanted to get eyes on that earlier just because scale issues tend to take a long time to track down and fix.
Cool. Thanks, Jordan. So yeah, those are mentioned throughout here. Other than that, we're looking pretty good. Master informing, there were some attempts by me that were failures to make the Windows jobs running successfully again. But I think they are being investigated. About 10 days ago, there's a PR that skipped some of the jobs, added skips for them because they apparently weren't supposed to be running from SIG Windows perspective. And it looks like the individual who opened that one is investigating some of the other ones as well. So hopefully we can get some green Windows runs, which would be the first time in quite a while. The other thing to note here is one of the Cube admin jobs started failing, and they have identified the issue had to do with something with the etcd version, but I believe there's a PR open on the Cube admin side to get that fixed up. I just saw a comment there an hour ago. So we should be looking pretty good here, probably by the afternoon. So.
Awesome.
Taylor, thanks, Daniel. I did want to take some time at the end of the call to try to figure out what all things we need to do, get to line up for the release starting tomorrow or once this happens. So we can defer that for later. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, that sounds good to me. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Dims. Any questions for CI Signal or for Dan? Awesome. Thank you again for shepherding all those issues. Sounds like we've got some forward plans on that front. And so if we need to course correct or do anything on that front, we can absolutely do so. Thank you again, everyone. Moving along to bug triage with John.
Good morning, everyone. Our status is yellow. For the most part, we do see a downward trend, which is a pretty good thing, but we do have a few items where they have increased. I think this is probably just due to newly found issues that are being worked through. So we in Bug Triage will continue to follow up and track these items. Any questions for me? All right, Taylor.
Thank you, John. Let's move on to Docs.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. Doc is green. We have 2 pending merges, and I am going to reach out to Tim Bannister and see if we could get those merged. They have all the edits and reviews, comments addressed, and they are ready for, it looks like they are ready for a final review. I'm being overly optimistic here. But they are of low risk. I'm hoping to get them merged today or tomorrow. And branch 1.19 is healthy now. The merge conflicts was pushed yesterday, and I got that was online, and I wasn't expecting to be online. He merged it, so it's looking happy. Any questions?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic job in getting all those closed up last week. And yeah, if you need any more help on those, please let us know, and we can engage SIG Docs or anyone else on that front. So thank you very much, Savitha.
Sure. Thank you.
Release notes with Adolfo.
Hi, everyone. So we started, so first of all, there's no changes for us since the last RC was cut. And we started contacting the SIGs for capturing their changes they want to reflect in the final document. And we are starting to receive the first data from them, and we'll get back to you as soon as we have everything ready. So we're green.
Fantastic. Green is go or go faster, which we've seen with the go versions. Fantastic. Thank you, Adolfo. Any questions for release notes? Fantastic. Comms update with Max.
Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. So far we are still green. Thank you for your input, Taylor, for the release blog. Looks good. We're going to, well, finalize it now this week and also the upcoming week, having some checks on the enhancements. If we do not mismatch something or wrote the wrong enhancements into it, hopefully not. And yeah, then we'll go and align all the content with the CNCF, take over the whole community input. I talked already with Eli, and he said they have a huge list of stuff which they would like to throw into. So I'm looking forward to get there the input from. And yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Max. Any questions for comms or for Max? All right. Release branch management. I didn't see Carlos on the line, but I can go through his update if
I can hop in.
Boom.
So yeah, so RC2 is planned for tomorrow. From that perspective, we should be good to go. We've been doing branch fast forwards for since we cut RC1, or since we cut RC0 actually, and the branch fast forwards will stop upon the successful release of RC2. Something to note there, that means that at that point, master is, RC2 will also mark code thaw, or what we've previously referred to as code thaw, which means master is again open for development for 120, starting again after the successful release of RC2, which means afterwards we'll be expecting cherry picks to the 119 branch if anyone expects to get things in for 119 at that point. Some interesting things happening for RC2 outside of all of that good stuff is that the vanity domain flip, which switches the underlying backing GCR repository from Google gcr.io/Google containers over to the Kates infra Kates artifact gcr.io, or the geo-located endpoints us.gcr.io, eu.gcr.io, and asia.gcr.io/Kates-artifacts prod. That is going live right now, which means as a result of that, we need to switch from publishing our images to the old, from the old to the new. So I've got PRs up. That's in progress. I'm doing testing on that right now, and we're looking pretty good. What that means for release managers to be something to be aware of is that you'll need to promote the staging images to prod after the mock stage and mock releases are successful. I've opened a example PR of how to do that and included instructions for that stuff. I'll be integrating the instructions into the branch management handbook, but no promises that that will happen before you need to actually start the work. I'll be online and all that good stuff, so anything that you need to walk through, we can walk through together. I think that's it for now.
I had a question about reopening master for 120.
Yep.
We have several issues or pull requests that are fairly large or require bumping dependencies to pick up fixes. Okay. Are we comfortable reopening master before those issues and PRs are fixed?
Have we identified them? Do we know exactly which ones we care about? And do we have a rough time to merge? I know that's tricky with all of the CI things going on.
I can think of 5 off the top of my head. I have not gone through the whole list of 55 issues and pulls in the milestone.
Fair. Let's async it on SIG release channel, and if we need to bump the code thaw, we can do that.
All right, let's make sure we have a list of things we don't want to make go through a cherry pick. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Jordan. Any questions for release branch management? Action-packed today. I love it.
No, we don't want action-packed. We want boring. And
Yeah,
Boring.
for-
Please.
Okay, so when do we want to talk about the
Go.
114 or the older releases? Do you want to wait till the end, or do you want to talk now?
I
Let's wait till
have
the
I dropped it in the parking lot for Go 115, so we can talk then.
Okay.
Let's move on to the Emeritus Advisor, Tim.
I don't have anything too specific to add. I think the general theme, like Jordan and Dims and Steven have mentioned, like establishing the specific concrete action list of things to do day to day and making sure that those are documented and shared explicitly so everyone understands, making sure we're really communicating and driving the action to resolve each of those, because things end up dependent and stacked up, and we have choices that we have to make, like do we defer something or not, and we need to all be on the same page to make sure we have the information to make those choices, and that we get the choice done promptly to ungate subsequent action.
Absolutely agree. Harkening back to the boring comment that was made a little bit earlier.
Boring takes detail-oriented work to make it so.
Thank you so much, Tim. Any questions for Tim? Awesome. So updates that I have for you. Tomorrow, end of day Pacific, we have CodeSaw. Like Steven had said, that's going to go live. CodeSaw is going to synchronize with the RC2. Then August 3rd on Monday, we're going to pick up burn down meetings daily to go through statuses. I've talked with some of the leads on that front, and I imagine that with more meetings, we don't have to pack as much content into each one. Definitely going to call those off closer that we get to KubeCon, and don't want to be demanding too much of anyone leading up to the release, and hoping that most things are done by that point in time. After that deadline, we have August 6th, which is actually 2 milestones. Cherry pick deadline, end of day Pacific on August 6th, and test freeze, end of day Pacific, August 6th. Any questions on that front? And I'm going to go SIG scalability and then to the parking lot. We can chat, Dims. Awesome. SIG scalability update as of today. Scalability jobs look good. No release blockers. Moving into open discussion. As always,
can we jump back to the SIG scalability thing? Is that accurate, even with the issue that I had opened with the scheduling throughput failing intermittently?
That I'm not sure on. That's just the notes. That's just a note within within the release agenda, but it sounds like it might not be accurate.
All right.
Yeah, we can take a look at that one. Please put any items in the retro that you would like to discuss. I know I've been pinged a couple times by the CNCF this week in terms of asking clarification on the release schedule and why some things got moved and pushed out. I know that Max and I covered that within the 119 release blog post, so that will be going in there as well once this does release. So if there are any questions on that front, obviously, please direct them to me, any of the shadows, or the SIG release leads and co-chairs. Let's go to Steven. Let's talk about some Triage Party.
Hey everyone. So we discussed Triage Party in the past as a cool tool to potentially use for SIG release to help with the bug triage workload and overall defray some of the cost of understanding what's going on for releases, milestones, all that good stuff in Kubernetes. So the most recent update, we had some blockers on health checking for standing that up within one of the K8s infra clusters. Triage Party has since updated, pushed a new release. So we are live with Triage Party at release.triage.k8s.io. There's a link in the notes for that. What that means is we don't necessarily have a process for this. It's more so for y'all to get a pulse point on what you do and don't need out of this tool, and we can tweak the configs as necessary. But for now, this is kind of an initial baseline config of Triage Party. So bug triage, please check it out. Let us know what you think. Every other team, feel free to check it out. Let us know what you think. Lori, do you want to drop some comments too?
Yeah, so I don't know how many folks saw Tom Stromberg's presentation on Triage Party at the community meeting in June, but he gave a 10-minute presentation on it. So I can share the link to that segment of the community meeting in the SIG release channel so that everybody can take a look at it. And then some of Stephen, Tim, Sasha, and Jorge will get together and go over some of the backlog items that many of you were also looking at through our breakout sessions, but we want to give a closer look to some of those items as well as a few others that have popped up, and basically clear out noise so that when we get running with Triage Party, there's a good solid foundation to get going with. So there might be some things in our backlogs for delegating to other SIGs. There might be things that have been usurped by bigger and better issues over time. We just want to take a look at that. So that will happen this week. And then I will, as part of that conversation, we'll think about how to activate some more engagement from all of you into like what the process should look like going forward for using Triage Party. Does that sound about right? All right.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much. No, I'm excited to use it. That's going to be a quite a fun tool. So I'm already getting use out of it. Fantastic. Stephen, go 1.15.
Yay. Okay. So a few things are happening this release cycle outside of all of the infrastructure changes. As we've been working through the updates for Go 1.14, there are a variety of problems that were uncovered. I guess making Go 1.14 unusable for us, or not a preferred Go version. Not a preferred Go version. So we're waiting out 1.15. 1.15 is currently Go 1.15. Go 1.15 is currently in beta 1. We're expecting an RC for that soon. I am hitting the button on creating a PR for building the 1.15 beta images, the kubecrass image for that. So I can start to get that up in a branch somewhere so that we can start getting some visibility into all of the fun potential issues that we'll be running into. As a result of moving to making the decision to move to 1.15 on master and for Kubernetes 1.19, there's a tricky thing that we have to deal with on the previous release branches. It's the fact that we're currently at Go 1.13 right now. For the release branches are on Go 1.13.14 as of earlier today. Upgraded from 1.13.9. I had opened PRs for updating those to Go 1.14.6 to get some feedback. And the feedback is generally, let's not do that. So the tricky thing that we're running into is based on our support cycle as well as overlaid with Go's support cycle. We are definitely going to need to move to Go 1.15 in previous release branches as well. So figuring out how to tackle that means that it needs to land on master, then be cherry picked over to 1.19, and then we need to handle any oddities that pop up within the 1.18, 1.17, and potentially 1.16 branches. The 1.16 branch, I say potentially because by the time we release Kubernetes 1.19, that will just about be the cutoff time for Kubernetes 1.16 to be out of support. So we can maybe opt to not take the hit on on 1.16 and skip that upgrade and let 1.13.14 be the last Go version update for the 1.16 branch. So thoughts on that? I know Jordan has opinions.
So where to start? So when we moved to Go 1.14, that brought along a fair number of changes. The change set to fix up, like to pull in all the dependency updates for Go 1.14 was very large. So if we updated our release branches to Go 1.14 or newer, we would also have to pull in all of those same updates. So that includes things like golang.org dependencies, includes updating the etcd client, it includes protobuf updates. It's a fairly large number of changes, much larger than I would expect us to make on a release branch in a patch release. So it's not just a matter of updating the Go runtime. It also is sort of shifting like the most important 20% of our dependencies up several versions. So that's one thing to consider. And that would apply whether we updated those old release branches to Go 1.14 or Go 1.15. The second thing to consider is there's a known issue in Go 1.14. I call it a potential known issue. It's the kind of thing that could have been encountered before, but Go 1.14 makes more likely. So it's sort of unclear whether like how big of a deal it is, but some people have reported seeing it. I linked to it from the notes there. In my mind, that makes Go 1.14 something we would not want to release a patch release on. I would really rather wait until Go 1.15 is available, which resolves this, and then go to Go 1.15. So those are the two data points, one which would affect Go 1.14 specifically, and then one which would affect bumping our release branches to Go 1.14 or newer.
And there is still the question of what we are going to find in Golang 1.15 too, right?
That's always true. The scalability team has been running on Go 1.15 betas, which is good. We got engaged there earlier, and we actually reported some problems which they resolved. So that's great. It means that hopefully, like as far as a scalability perspective is concerned, the .0 release should be usable by us, which is great. But sure, I mean, once we update to 1.15.0 and soak for a few weeks, like we might find something else that makes us wait till 1.15.1 or so.
Right. The why I'm asking that is we don't need to make the decision right now, and we can push that out a few weeks.
Yeah. So I mean, we're ideally we
I mean,
have as
if
much.
you ask me right now, I would say don't do it, right? But if I say if we can move the decision for the older releases for a few weeks until we get hands on 1.15, try it on master, and see if 1.19 is releasable and release 1.19. At that time, we can take a decision on the older branches.
Yeah, so I would say yes, for sure. That's what we want to do. The reason I put this in the parking lot is that it's more of this leans less into the release team and more into release engineering overall, scope wise. I would raise the concern once again. This is a thing that we encounter for several release cycles. We need tighter interlock with SIG scalability. They have been testing this stuff already, and I haven't seen any notifications out to SIG release regarding that. So what we're trying to do, at least on the SIG release side, I've been working on a variety of images to pull in canary versions of Go, or pre-release versions of Go, so that we can start to use those against, we can start to build tests against Go, newer Go versions, and start to get some earlier signal there. Once this PR merges, I'll start promoting stuff and get a branch up to start soaking some of this. But yeah, we do need tighter interlock. This is a continuing thing that we're
Do you
kind
have
of
a
finding
sense
out.
of what that might look like? Because I saw it noted in past retro notes, and it looks like there's been some improvement over time, but more to do.
I think it's closing the loop between scalability and the release team. Like the SIG scalability has started running these tests ahead of time, which was one of the main action items, but it's just closing the communication gap, I think.
Right, I understand that. So I'm asking what that might look like.
So yeah, so and it's less for the release team. Like this information should be disseminated from the release engineering subproject to the release team. This is because this is a SIG wide concern, not just a quarterly concern. We should, as soon as we know about, like, one, release managers, if you're not signed up for the Golang Announce mailing list, please sign up for the Golang Announce mailing list so you're getting notifications about pre-announces. So one, we should all be signed up for that list if you are helping to manage Go updates. Two, I'm working on a doc about what Go updates look like overall. Once we know we're going to do an update, which we know quarterly that's going to happen, we should signal intent to scalability. I guess the hope is if the notification is coming from us, then hopefully we're getting faster feedback from them. I don't know what this looks like, honestly. And Lori, we can sit down and talk about it because it has been a multi-cycle thing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like some progress is made, but with time come new issues, and
even if it's an informing thing, I think that, personally, I'd love to see something on the SIG release mailing list or anything like that. Like, hey, we're testing this out, just kind of like an info log type of update. Just even visibility at that level, I think would be helpful to see that that's getting kicked off.
Yeah, because honestly, I would like to get us to the point where we're doing pre-announces for our releases as well. Hey, there's a new RC coming in in a few days. If you're keen to test that out, jump on this channel, or and here's the issue for tracking, that kind of thing. And that would include thinking about what new versions of various dependencies are.
So can we switch mode now to 119 release?
In what sense?
I have a bunch of things that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, so, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the elephant in the room we already talked about, which was Go 115. And then the second one that we need to get going or wrap it up is the VDF. When we switch the images, we have references to image, the us.gcr.io and things like that in our repository. So we need to clean them up. So that would be the second thing that we need to tackle. And then there was a HCD update that was needed for one of the CI jobs. I don't know if that needed a new bump in HCD that we are using. Jordan, do you remember that one? No,
it didn't. That was a client issue, and it had to do with the version of Go that we were building the API server and integration tests with. It doesn't require bumping the etcd server image. Okay. So I mean, we could update the etcd server image. That it might be fine to pull in, but it's not required.
Okay, good. That takes one off my list. The other one is there was a series of issues around huge page support in C Advisor, and Kind was hitting it first. I think we nailed down the changes in Containerd as well as in Kubelet. I have to cross-check whether everything has landed. So so that's a to-do on my list to make sure that we have all the changes for huge pages. Basically, what was happening was if huge pages is not present, then things were failing. So we would not support some of the systems that we used to support before. The CI jobs, we talked about it already. We have to get to the point where we have less problems in the CI before we are happy. that's basically what I had.
So to comment on the swizzles for the VDF, that shouldn't be too much of a concern. There is a PR open to swizzle some of that stuff. I'm not sure who the contributor was that opened it, but I can track that one down. I was intending on picking up that work, but with the with references to the us.gcr.io, regardless of whether or not the VDF succeeds, those references will continue to work. So we're fine there. With regards to core images do not point to us.gcr.io, so we're fine there as well. The etcd PR that went in recently points to kates.gcr.io, and Linus recently merged a backfill PR for all of those images. So we should be in the clear VDF-wise.
I'm worried about the conformance images.
Conformance images are part of the core image suite that we release, and those point to kates.gcr.io.
Okay, that's good. So, and we don't want to, when is the current date for the VDF, Stephen?
It's happening right now. So over the course of the next 4 days, it should be complete.
Okay, so when is the earliest we could switch to the newer ones? Next Monday?
The newer ones for which exactly? Are you
basically clean up?
everything.
When can we clean up? Yes, I want it clean.
So there is already a cleanup PR in flight. So I'll chase that down. If that is stalled, I'll pick it up and carry it forward. Because there are probably 1 or 2 more references to add from that PR.
Okay,
and then,
so that PR will succeed even before the VDF is done.
It should already be succeeding. Yeah. And if it's not, I'll come in and clean it up. I will not. We won't release anything PR-wise, release any holds until we get the all clear from Linus that VDF is successful. So that should hopefully come by.
And we don't want to hold up the RC tomorrow for the VDF change, right?
No, we don't need to. Anything that's published from anything that's published within the RC is going to have the RC. This is going to be the first RC that we use the promotion process within the release process. So conformance, cube dash star images, and hypercube for older branches when those things get released will all be under the new name.
Okay. The only other thing that we haven't touched yet is, from your experience, Stephen, with the 1.3 and 1.4 Bazel stuff, do you see any problems with Bazel stuff in 1.15 or?
It's timing, I guess. The Go boundaries, what we usually care about is the rules _Go update and the Bazel tool chains updates. I talked with Eric last week, and I now have admin access to repo infra. Repo infra is what handles all of the most, if not all of the Go rules for Kubernetes. So I now have access to cut releases there when the Go ones come out. What would be concerning is if the minimum version of Go required changes, and I guess less concerning for us in 1.19 and more concerning for older release branches.
Okay.
Yeah, if that changes, then we need to look at Bazel updates for back branches.
Then the last question is, if all the stars line up that we talked about, how much soak time will we have before we release based on the current dates for with 1.15, with VDF, with all the other things? The Golang is supposed to come August 3rd or something.
That's what I heard. Yeah, that's around then. So given.
So say August 3rd they ship, right, and it takes us 3-4 days to get to the point where we get ourselves bootstrapped with 1.15. So it takes us to August 6th or 7th, right? And then when is our release for 1.19, Taylor?
August 25th.
Yeah,
that's the target.
Okay.
So that means we have a few weeks of soak. I'm going to hopefully, once this is promoted, this image is promoted, I'll have a branch up running 115 beta. So as the RC comes out and as the actual release comes out, we'll get more signal there. So we should have an additional 10 days or so of it soaking on that branch to get an idea. Keeping me on my toes, Dims.
I have to ask a question, Steven. I know you are doing this, but we have to make sure that everybody knows this is, what we are up against, right?
Yeah.
So this is almost like an interrogation, so everybody knows that.
You're like, I'm sorry. Turn down the lights.
No more witnesses. Yeah.
Thanks, Steven.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Any more questions or items to address? Thank you. I know this meeting's a little bit longer than normal, but like Dim said, this is important information that needs to be addressed. And typically what it looks like about 5 weeks out from a release for those of you participating for the first time. So this is all normal. There's no flashing lights, or we know about the flashing lights. There's a GitHub issue open for it.
One question, I just want to confirm. So Jordan wanted to know, are we comfortable with thawing master tomorrow? I want to confirm who's taking the action item to collect that and drive decision making.
I am happy to go through the list of open issues and polls and identify ones which are likely to have large change sets or dependency change sets associated with them. Where should I accumulate that list? Was there an item in the agenda that? There we go. Under release branch management in today's agenda, I will build a list there.
Oh, perfect.
Cool. Thank you, Jordan.
Also, just a real quick question for the leads and shadows. Would it help if we created a small template in the agenda to track such action items? So as we go through these meetings, we have things we should follow up on. And so I've created in the past like a very simple template for just tracking who owns the task, what is the question, and when is the expected date for turnaround. Would that help?
I'd say that would definitely help in terms of if we could have that added to either the first, like underneath either how this meeting works or something like that potentially, and then that way we can quickly link to it and get to it.
Okay, it would be like a running list of action items. We could either collect those items per meeting and then just follow up in the next meeting, or we could have a running tab. So why don't we get offline and we can talk. Whoever has ideas and thoughts about how they would like this to look, please let's talk about it and sig these.
Yeah, I would say get a running tab so we don't lose them from day to day.
Yeah.
That way, like top of the agenda, right, or top of the doc, and then bang them out.
I agree. If you're going to have items that are going to run over a few days, that would be the best approach.
Yeah.
So why don't we just try that at first? Because that seems to be like what we actually need. And then we can always adjust.
Cool. Sounds good to me. Any final comments, questions, concerns?
Just a general great job, everyone. I see people are working super hard on nailing the last bits of this release. It's a marathon. We've still got a lot of time left in the release. We've got COVID and just general priorities skewed all over the place, and KubeCon coming up. So speakers who are getting ready for that, plus internal conferences and all that good stuff, and job updates. So like kudos to everyone who's been really working hard on this.
We do, speaking of that, Stephen, we do need one volunteer or a few volunteers to stand at the end of this release and hold out those tiny cups of water because, again, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, Yeah, Stephen, if you could take that, that would be fantastic. Thanks.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Awesome. Any more comments, questions, concerns? Thank you, Jeremy. Wonderful. Have a fantastic Monday, everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday. Don't be a stranger if you need anything during the week, and we'll see y'all later. Have a good one.
Later, y'all.